A right triangle.
Congruent.
Technically congruent triangles are what we're talking about here. So, we've heard about these before. Now, most commonly you guys have classified them by sides, but interestingly enough, you didn't say a single side classification. You said angle classifications, which work, but it's just intriguing to me. If a triangle has no known congruent sides, it's called scalene.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that familiar? Two congruent sides. Isosceles.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Well, it helps if I spell isosceles correctly. I'm struggling with spelling today. I'm adding letters to words that don't even have that letter. That's where I'm at today. Three congruent sides.
Huh?
You can count Donald when you're coming back.
Oh.
Grab a notes packet.
Oh.
Okay, three congruent sides starts with an E. Equilateral.
Good job, Kelly. I'm so proud of you.
Okay, now, classifying by angles also works. Now, in all technicality, when you call the triangle by these, you should have the triangle word after it or a triangle symbol. It's not the end of the world if you don't. If the triangle has three acute angles, before I get there, what makes an angle an acute angle?
It's less than 90.
Less than 90 degrees. If all of its angles are acute, it's an acute triangle. And I tend to use the symbol, particularly after the angle ones, because otherwise it looks like angles rather than triangles. If it's got a right angle, it's a right triangle. If it has one obtuse angle, it is an obtuse triangle. And if all three angles are congruent, it's called equiangular. One thing about equiangular triangles and equilateral triangles, by the way, is if it's one of these, it's both of these. These two are always going to be together. An equilateral triangle is equiangular, an equiangular triangle is equilateral. So, one of the things you're going to be asked to do today is just classify the triangle by its sides and by its angles. Make sure you're giving me two separate answers for this. In fact, I'm going to do S and A for sides and angles. That way I make sure I do both every single time.
Okay, never mind.
I can, but
Okay, I'll just get it later.
I've already moved. Go ahead and get it down. So, I'm going to put the S and the A to make sure that I always get both, because I am looking for two words when I ask you to classify it by sides and angles. I'm emphasizing this because one of the most common mistakes I see in this chapter, in this section, is not that people screw up which one they use, is that they only give me one of the answers. So, you need to give me both. Zay, have you got the top three now?
Yeah. Wait, what was the one that started with S?
Scalene.
I got it.
If you need the rest of it, ask me during homework and I'll give you that. Okay. So classify it by its sides and its angles. Looking at the sides, what do you notice about it? They're all congruent. Therefore, that makes it
Congruent.
not considered congruent. Equilateral. Congruent triangle means something completely different.
Let's write the whole word every time.
Yep.
I can't just put an E.
No.
But they all start with different letters.
Don't care. So, we got equilateral. And if it's equilateral, then by angles it is equiangular.
Equivalent.
Question B. What do you notice about the sides?
They're all kind of different.
They've got tick marks, but are any of them the same number of tick marks?
No.
Indicating they're all different. Not isosceles. All three are different. Is scalene. Classify by angles. What do you notice in the angles?
I see a right angle.
There's a right angle, making it a
Right angle.
right triangle. The next one is isosceles because it has two congruent sides. What do you notice about the angles?
Acute.
Are they all acute? Acute means less than 90, so it's going to look like smaller than a 90-degree angle. Do they all look smaller than 90s?
Yeah.
Yes, it is an acute triangle.
I use one of those things on this. The thing that's like shaped like this.
Oh, the protractor? No.
Yeah. I don't know how to identify these. Not that smart.
Okay, last one. Notice the sides. How many of them are congruent? Two, making it isosceles. Angles.
Obtuse.
Why are you thinking obtuse?
Big. Looks wonky.
This one angle appears to be bigger than 90. A 90-degree angle looks kind of like the corner of something. If it looks wider than that, it's obtuse. If it looks smaller than that, it's acute. It only takes one obtuse angle to be an obtuse triangle. That's one of the things you're going to see today. Not too terrible?
No, that's pretty easy.
Okay. Next thing you're going to see, starting on the next page, has things to do with what's known as the triangle angle sum theorem. Triangle angle sum theorem, which when it comes to our proofs, we will see this coming up in a proof. We would shorten it down to a little triangle symbol and an angle symbol and sum theorem. Says the sum of the interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. Interior angles means angles inside of a shape. So, my interior angles here are that one and that one and that one. If I see a triangle, that's all it takes on this is if I see a triangle, then I can assume that the measure of angle. Now, when it comes to naming angles, I've got options on how I name them. If there's numbers inside that are not degrees, I can name them by the number. I can sometimes do a one-letter name, or I can almost always do a three-letter name. Can I do a one-letter name for this angle?
Yes.
Yes. What's the requirement for using a one-letter name? That there's only one angle that fits right there. If there was an additional angle here coming off of point A, I could not call it angle A. Because then I would be like, well, are you be the top one, the bottom one, or the big one?
Point A.
Since there's only one angle coming off of that point, I can call it angle A, and I can say the measure of angle A plus. How many angles does a triangle have? Three. All three of them add up. Measure angle B plus measure angle C equals, according to this theorem, 180 degrees. Overall, the questions related to these are not going to be anything terrible. Going to maybe want a calculator. Put that away for now. First one says find the measure of the missing angle and classify the triangle by its angles. Missing angles got the question mark in it, right? Right. If you don't like it being a question mark because the question mark confuses you, change it to something that we typically do in math when we don't know a number. What do we typically put? X. Angles of a triangle have to add up to 180, which means x plus the 35 plus the 60 has to be equal to 180. Is finding x all that terrible?
No, I know what to do.
What do you do?
Okay. So you have to combine the like terms.
Okay, 35 plus 60 is 95.
Okay. So then x plus 95 equals 180.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now what you have to do to get to your number is, I think that you're gonna have to minus 95
Yep.
from 95 and from 180, and that'll get you to, I don't know, I'm not that smart. And then whatever that is, it'll be x equals that and then divide.
It's 85, and you actually don't need to divide here.
Oh, that's it.
If there was a number in front of x, we'd divide. We don't have to here.
Yeah.
It's an 85-degree angle. Do I have to write out the equation to do that?
No.
Could I have just gone to my calculator and done 180 minus 60 minus 35 as well?
Yeah.
It's another option.
That's pretty simple.
Pretty simple too. Either will work. If you prefer to make it an x and do it that way, go for it. If you'd prefer to just do 180 minus the 2 you know to get the one you don't know, that works too. Yes, Adrian.
So all of these questions right here, they're all just like doing that.
The first three. Note that the instructions change on on the next one, line, and the instructions change on the bottom line, but they're all very similar. But if you know that the angle is the only thing missing, you can just do 180 minus the two angles you know. Is that how you would do it if it came up in a proof? Absolutely not. Is this a proof?
No, it isn't.
No. 180 minus 135 minus 22 is 23. The missing angle is 23 degrees.
Is this gonna be on the test, like, without the proof? You can just do that?
This stuff on the test without the proof? Yes. Will there be proofs on this coming test? Yes.
Kellen, you should know that already. Quit whining.
Okay. Last one. I'm going to my name cards. Henry, how would we find the last one? From? The other numbers, I assume you mean the 50 and the 35? Adrian, what do we get?
95.
It is 95. Question. Did we answer the questions completely?
Yes. No? No.
Find the measure of the missing angle and classify the triangle by its angles. Did we answer the entire question? No. So, this also asks for you to classify. This first one has a 60, a 35, and an 85-degree angle. Acute, right, obtuse, or equiangular. Are they all acute? Are they all smaller than 90?
Yep.
Yes. It's an acute triangle. Question B has a 22, 135, and a 23. Obtuse. It's got an obtuse angle. It's got one angle that is bigger than 90. Question C, 50, 35, and 95. Also obtuse. Still nothing too scary? Okay. Next line is doing similar idea, but this one says to solve for x. That makes it where we can see a little bit. Okay. So, x is hanging out inside of my angles. Specifically, I have 3 angles marked in a triangle, and the 3 angles of a triangle are still going to add up to what number?
180 degrees.
180. Now, when there's an expression involved rather than just a single x, I don't want to do this. This is great when the only thing left is that question mark, but when there's more to it, I want to see the equation.
We know that's 90 degrees.
We do know this one's 90 degrees, but that's not what it asks for.
That's right.
It asks for x. But one of the most common things I do see on problems like this is people forget the 90-degree angle. All 3 angles have to be added. One of them's 90, the other one's 35, the other one's x plus 58.
Does 90 always go first?
No, doesn't matter which one goes first,
Oh.
as long as you get all 3 of them. Add them up, equals 180. Dom, you have a question or you want to tell me what to do next?
I'll answer it.
Okay, I'm going to go to my name cards for that, but I appreciate it. Dominic, what should I do at this point? Combine like terms. What are the like terms? 90, 35, and 58. Make sure you're getting all 3. The 180 on the other side's not being touched. The x isn't really doing much. Brody, what do I get when I combine those 3? We're combining like terms. So I asked, what do we get when we actually combine those 3? Grab a calculator, I got plenty of them.
180.
Depends, is that your favorite thing to drink? I feel like you drink Gatorade.
Huh?
Like you drink that Gatorade every day.
That's because it's right after lunch.
It's your favorite drink.
No. Just try to stay hydrated and the electrolytes are good. Avery, now what am I gonna do?
Probably subtract.
Subtract what?
Probably 183.
Yeah. That's -3. X equals -3. Is that what the question asked for this
Yes.
time?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I move on to the next one. Still trying to solve for x. This one's just a different problem. Elena, what would you have me do?
Add all of them.
So tell me what's right.
50 plus 80 plus 50 plus x equals 180.
You got it.
X equals 0.
Dude,
Skylar, shut up.
combine my like terms, I get 180 plus x equals 180, which is why Skylar got 0, because when I subtract 180 from both sides, I do get 0. And that is what we're solving for. One final problem like this, and then we're going to change it up a little bit again. Greta? How about the last one?
Add the like terms.
Tell me what to write.
7x minus 7 plus 75 plus 35 equals 180.
You already told me what to do next. Combine my like terms. When I combine my like terms, say, what do I get?
I low key like that's like a lot of numbers.
Okay, which ones are going together? Let's start there.
Like 7, 75, and 35.
75, 35, which 7?
The other 7, the negative 1.
The -7 being a key thing. I wanted to emphasize that because one of the things I'm still seeing some people do is when they see that -7, they're saying, okay, I add 7 to both of these. Those on opposite sides of the equal sign.
Oh.
Then you don't do opposite operations. So, be careful with that. It's still something I'm seeing pop up. They're on the same side of the equal sign. You keep their signs with them. -7 plus 75 plus 35. 103.
7x, 7x, and then you gotta subtract the 103 from the 103 and put the 180, and then like maybe like 77, and then divide.
Nah, we're dividing. X equals 11. Is that what it asked me to solve for?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, final problem. It says find the indicated measure. You're doing the same thing to start. Because I notice it's 3 angles inside of a triangle. And then when I see 3 angles inside of a triangle, my brain thinks about this theorem that says they add up to 180. Emily, what would that equation look like then? Beautiful. Caleb? Now what?
You have to simplify.
I'm gonna simplify. In other words, combine like terms. Alike, 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 and alike. X plus x is 2x. Colin?
Yep.
What am I gonna get when I combine the numbers? I don't know the answer, but I'm gonna trust you. Kellen?
Yep.
What do I do?
Divide and get -1.
No, we won't. Try again, you're a step ahead of us.
Oh, my bad. You subtract 180.
Subtract the 182, you get 2 equals, x equals -2, and then we divide and we get x equals -1. There we go. But is that what it asked for?
No.
No.
You gotta plug it in.
We've got to plug it in. Now here is the biggest thing that people make mistakes on. Because in a triangle, there's how many angles in a triangle?
3.
3, which means a triangle is named by 3 letters. And I name an angle by 3 letters. The most common mistake that I see is in a triangle, I ask people to find the measure of angle BAC, and they're like, which one's that?
BAC, the big one. No, that's not the big one.
Is
That's
it
the big one.
the x plus 57, the x plus 79, or is it the 46?
It's
Sorry.
the one that starts with a B. The one that's by the B.
Remember?
It's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. I think it's the whole thing.
Shh.
Good job, Zay.
Remember that when you were talking about an angle, the middle letter is the vertex. The middle letter is the pointy part. Angle BAC is this angle. It's the x plus 57. So, measure of angle BAC equals, instead of x, -1 plus 57. It is 56, but for the sake of argument, Isaac, if this was a proof, what would this step have been called? When you plug it back in. Substitution. We would have gotten 56 degrees. I 100% agree with Zay on that one. But what's it called? And yes, you are right, it is simplify. Okay. We have one final problem. Yep. Carson. How do I start this problem? Let's get an equation first. I can start with 80.
80 plus 9x plus 5 plus 5x plus 11
Equals
equals 180.
180. Three angles in a triangle always add up to 180. Fiji. If I want to solve, what am I going to do now? Add the like terms. I got a 9x and a 5x, which is a 14x. I got an 80 plus a 5 plus an 11, which is 96. Leo, what should I do now? Subtract the 96. 14x equals 84. Maddie, what do I do now? Divide by 14. 84 divided by 14 is?
6.
Yeah. Skylar? Is that what I was looking for?
No,
What do I need to do?
plug it in.
Plug it back in.
No, it's the 9x plus 5.
Why is it the 9x plus 5?
That's the vertex.
Because that's the middle letter. Middle letter tells you the vertex. The other two letters tell you where the sides go to give you the indication of which angle it is. Make sure when you're plugging it back in, angle ACB equals 9 times 6 plus 5 has a mistake in it. What did I screw up? The measure. If you've got an angle with an equal sign, you're talking about its measure. I need the little m. Measure angle ACB. 9 times 6 is 54, plus 5 is 59.
We're done.
We are done. Any of it too terrible?
I used that.
No. Today we did section 5.1 part 1. Today is the 25th. It's a Friday, so our homework's due on Tuesday. Tuesday is the 29th? I think it's the 29th.
It would be the 29th.
It would be the 29th.
I can't turn this off anymore because I have to do the test.
We'll chat in here in a second.
That's not good.
Okay. We are on page 288 in our textbook. Please write day 1 on the top as well, because we're going to be on 288 on Monday as well. And I want to be able to easily tell which assignment it is. It is numbers 1 through 4, 9 through 12, and 17 through 20. It's just 3 little sections, so it looks longer than what it is. Use your part time wisely.